What's poppin', players? Welcome back to your Two Penny Gamescast, episode 115. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott. Say hello to the people, Connor.
Hi.
Hi. Your whole bottom half of your face is cut off like that, buddy.
Yeah.
Connor, how's your week been, friend?
Tiring.
Tiring?
Yeah. Sleepy tired.
Sleepy
Constant.
tired. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Connor, it's been a minute because we pre-recorded last week's episode on a Thursday, and we normally record on a Sunday. So it's been fucking like a whole 3 extra days since I've seen you. So it feels like I haven't seen you in like a year.
Well, not that long.
No, not that long, obviously. Not that long. It's just a week and a half. But still, it's been a long time since I've seen you.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to hear you're doing okay. Glad, you're just tired or whatever. You're tired because we had to record early this morning our Portal review for our video game book club, in which our good buddy Phil joined us on the panel for that. That's live on the channel right now, or just stick around to the end of the episode for our thoughts on Portal and how it ranks amongst the crowds of Chrono Trigger and Resident Evil 4 and The Last of Us. Video Game Book Club is a show that we do every month, once a month, first week of the month, in which me, Connor, and now Phil sit down and we review older games and rank them against each other for shits and giggles. But that's not this show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted to know about this show, this is the Two Penny Gamescast, in which me and Connor, we come to you every week with the new news concerning the video game industry. We each bring to you 2 topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. But if just talking about gaming is not enough, you want to see some gamers have some real gaming moments, well, hop on over to twitch.tv/2pennygames, in which we do live streams when we can. My internet doesn't work for live streaming for some reason. Everything else is fine. It's just live streaming fucking broken. Don't know why.
Well, better internet.
It's not an option. I don't have an option. I have what my apartment complex gave me, and that's it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll figure it out. I'll try something. I'll try a few things. I have a couple of ideas. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen. Also, I want to vent real quick, Connor.
Oh.
This is driving me fucking crazy. I told you about this before the show, but I'm going to talk about it again here. Ladies and gentlemen, this last week I've been playing in the background Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I beat it. I finished it. Me and Phil, we hopped into the PlayStation parties and we platinumed the game together. Now, when the game came out, I accidentally bought the PlayStation 4 version for $60. And I was like, oh, shit. You know what? Not that big of a deal. I'll play it on PS4. If I get the Platinum, because the Platinum looked easy. For the most part, it was, except for one trophy, which we cheated and we glitched. It was a money-based trophy, so we just duplicated our money over and over again. If I get the Platinum, then I'll just spend the $10 extra, get an extra Platinum for the PlayStation 5 version. Mm-hmm. I've done it before. Spider-Man Miles Morales, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I could have did it for Spider-Man Remastered, but I chose not to. And I've done it for something else that I just can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, Resident Evil 3. That's what it was. Could have done it with Resident Evil 2, but I decided to just get it again. And so, ladies and gentlemen, last night, we got the Platinum. Both me and Phil got it. Easy.
Yay.
Number 71 for me. Number 21, I think, for Phil. Maybe 22.
He's coming up.
Yeah, man, he's yo, we were talking about that last night. He's putting up some numbers this year.
Yeah.
This year alone, he's put up like 5-6 platinums. I've put up, not including the duplicates, ones that I've earned. This is like my 3rd platinum.
You might be no longer the reigning champion within a few years, Tab.
Okay, all right. Hold on. He's got a lot of ground to catch up, man.
I know he does. Oh, I said years.
I'll tell you what, man. Like those first 50 flew by those first 50. Now it feels like every single one is a fight for my fucking life. But it is.
Gotta play better games.
I don't want to hear about playing better games from you, Connor. I saw you playing Deus Ex from 2000.
Deus? Is that how you pronounce it? Deus?
What is it called?
Deus Ex.
I'm tired, man.
Deus, God.
Deus Ex from 2000. And then you get to the end of the year, every year, this will be our 3rd year doing it. You're going to get to the end of the year and be like, oh, I just didn't play enough games this year, so, there's some filler on my list. Motherfucker. Play some games from this goddamn year. How about that?
It's an amazing game.
Is it?
It is actually. It's a very, very good game.
I'm
high
sure.
quality.
It's in the Hall of Fame for a bunch of shit.
It is. Yeah. But hey, I do have more than 10 games played this year, I believe.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just saying. I should, but
I'm sitting at like 11 or 12, I think, and then it depends on like if you even like allow me to put Elden Ring on my list because I only put like 10 out. When I went back to revisit it, I put another like 3 or 4, so I'm like 13-ish hours of Elden Ring, and I'm like, you know what? Not for me. Not for me.
Yeah. Skill issue. I've said it once and many times before.
Whatever, man. I finessed Sekiro like a motherfucker, bro. I was killing all the motherfuckers in Sekiro. I was getting them all.
I did not say Sekiro. I did not mention Sekiro.
Some would say Sekiro requires more skill than a Dark Souls-esque game. Some would say.
Let me roll the same move again.
Let me
roll
and poke
over and over.
Let me just roll and poke again and again.
It requires you.
Sekiro mocks you.
Sekiro
mocks you. If you play Sekiro like a Dark Souls player, the game mocks you. It says, "Hey, bitch, stop doing that. That's not how you play this one."
Exactly. So when it's all tied to a parrying system, well, that just makes it a simple game for dumb babies who can't do multiple things at the same time.
Sounds like a skill issue.
No, I don't know who you're talking to, Tavin, because I was ding, 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 ding. I was going crazy. I fought the dragon, dude.
What a fucking game.
It was a good game.
The dragon?
Very
at the end of the game?
Yeah.
It's like one of the easiest fights in the fucking game.
But it's the only it doesn't have parrying, so it's like special in that regard.
You can absolutely parry that boss.
Parrying in the sense of yeah, you can. He does do some stuff.
He definitely has attacks that you parry. Anyways, Connor, let's get into it. Let's drop some sense on him. Enough of the I didn't even finish my story about Wonderlands. Anyways, I loaded up the PlayStation 5 version, loaded up my save. Trophy's not popping. Not a single one. Not even like sometimes like with Fallen Order, it's like most of them popped, but not all of them, so it just requires like a little bit of effort to get them. Wonderlands, not a single one is popping. And it's
what a shame.
Pissing me off. It's pissing me off. I did a lot of work.
It might come. Maybe just like uninstall it and install it.
That was my first. That was my first instinct. I did that, and it didn't.
I did that.
It didn't work. Anyway.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Maybe I'll give it 6 months. Check it out again. See if they patched it or whatever. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. And whatever. I still have it. It's just I don't have that one.
Just contact support.
Okay, I had to check real quick to make sure that I pressed record. I got real scared. I was like, "Oh shit, did I do that thing?" Connor, go ahead, do me a favor. Push if you can push the camera back a little bit, because you keep dipping too low. Keep dipping too low, my friend. There we go. Perfect.
Better.
Nailed it, friend. There we go. All right, Connor. Enough jibber jabber. Let's drop some sense on him. Let's get right into the news. Let's jump into our first topic. Your first penny of the day. Key members of Disco Elysium developer ZAUM have left the company in an involuntary manner. This is from IGN by Adam Bankhurst. According to Martin Luega, an editor on, I'm going to call them Zaums, an editor on Zaum's Disco Elysium, key members of the company, including lead writer and designer Robert Kurvitz, writer Helen Hinpier, and lead of art and design Alexander Rostov, have left the company in an involuntary manner. Luiga shared the update on Medium.com, saying that he, quote, saying that he, a, quote, founding member and secretary of the Zaum Cultural Association, as well as the assembler of most of the core team, am hereby dissolving the Zaum Cultural Association. Luiga also notes that that these 3 core members have not been working at Zaum since the end of last year, and leaving their company was involuntary. Furthermore, he said this would, quote, seem like bad news for the loving fans that are waiting for the Disco sequel. The Zaum Cultural Association is different from the studio Zaum that developed Disco Elysium, and Luiga says that he chose to dissolve the cultural organization as it, quote, no longer represents the ethos it was founded on. People and ideas are meant to be eternal. Organizations may well be temporary, Luiga continued. Quote, I find that the organization was successful overall, and most of the mistakes that were made were contingent, determined by the socio-cultural conditions we were thrown into. I still encourage people to organize, and I would say that one of the qualities for the Zaum cultural organization sorely lacked was pretty much any formal structure. For a while, it was beautiful. My sincerest thanks to all that have rooted for us. In the comments of the post, Luiga appears to place some of the blame for this situation on the investors of Zaum, while also admitting that Disco Elysium may not have happened without them in the first place. Quote, imagine a kleptomaniac, if you will, only that instead of stealing, say, a lollipop, they take pains to manipulate dozens of people to steal, in the end, from themselves, just because they happen to be very proficient in that kind of an operation. It's what they always do, really. One of them was the first guy to be convicted for investment fraud in Estonia. All the same, I don't know if we would have managed to get the initial investment without those people. While this may not be the best news for those waiting on the sequel for Disco Elysium, Luiga wrote on Twitter that he believes, quote, things with the sequel are actually sweet enough. You might not get it in the way it was meant, or you might even get it the way it was meant. It might take a shit ton of time, but RPG fans are sort of accustomed to waiting, aren't they? All right, so this is more or less some breaking news. This thing happened yesterday, or Saturday rather, from the time you're listening to this, and I'm a little confused because there's not a lot of details out right now. The Zaum Cultural Association seems to be some type of secondary group within the company, ZAUM, that I'm going to assume just by that just values cultural diversity or something, and it seems they said the socio-cultural, like, what did he say?
I don't even know what socioculture means, so I'm...
Sociocultural conditions we were thrown into. So I'm assuming this was something that was set up during 2020, during the Black Lives Matter protests that were happening around the world. And I'm confused as to the purpose of it. I think we should be sad that it's gone, because we tried to look around and there wasn't a lot of details as to what it actually is, which is probably a lead issue into why it's being dissolved in the first place, is that it just doesn't seem like there was a lot of structure around it. Mm-hmm. Now, as for the members that were, booted out of the company, sorry that you don't have any jobs anymore, but it sounds like you stepped on the wrong toes.
Perhaps that's the weird part to me, because apparently these people were pretty big in the creation of the first game, and I saw some people being fatalistic about it because, apparently that's the reason why the game was good.
I mean, lead art designer is a big thing on a game like Disco Elysium, where like the art is a thing to marvel at. Yeah.
I don't know if it's doomed for that reason necessarily, but it is strange to have multiple people leave involuntarily and then just kind of leave it there. I mean, that's kind of a weird smelling thing, just to say that and not give any explanation on it. Because
it's also been 10
involuntary.
months.
I want to know what that means.
It's also been like 10 months. So like, why are we making a big deal about it now? I don't know. It's weird. It's strange. And we'll give an update to it next week if there's any other updates to the story. We'll give one next week. It probably won't be a full topic unless it demands a full topic. But yeah, as of right now, this is just something to kind of keep your eyes on. I don't suspect any foul play from company heads here or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It just sounds like some people got caught doing some stuff they shouldn't have been doing, and it led to the dissolvement of the cultural association.
Very possible. I think we would need a third party to come in and investigate this kind of thing. Maybe a journalist, because you're always going to be biased when involving someone on the team, especially when it seems like he made the decision to dissolve it. He probably maybe made the decision to make these people leave. When you're getting all of this from just one guy, it can be kind of there's room for some fishy stuff to be going on. So and of course it could be them, that the people that were fired, that were laid off, doing some scummy or bad thing. Who knows, right? Like you said, an update would be nice, and we'll talk about it if it comes up.
Exactly, but definitely something to keep your eye on. Moving on to our second topic of the day, and your second penny, my dear friend Connor. Saudi Arabia is investing $37 billion into the gaming industry. So we are pulling an article from Axios.com by Stephen Totilo. Saudi Arabia to invest $37 billion in gaming. Saudi Arabia's government-funded gaming conglomerate, the Savvy Gaming Group, will invest $37.8 billion in gaming as part of a controversial effort to expand the kingdom's role in the sector. Why it matters? Savvy is primed to buy up a lot of gaming companies and start many of its own. Savvy has earmarked more than $13 billion, quote, for the acquisition and development of a leading game publisher to become a strategic development partner, according to Kingdom's press agency. Another $18 billion is pegged for and then these are just bullet points. Another $18 billion is pegged for minority investments. Savvy's efforts are expected to establish 250 game companies and create 39,000 jobs, the press agency noted. The investments are announced by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And then the rest is some like catch up, of which a couple of things we've discussed on the show recently. So yeah, Saudi Arabia's really like going all in on this and investing in the gaming industry, which is concerning because one, $37 billion, not a small number at all. And two, intent is something to be questioned here. What is the end goal here? And Connor, you can speak on it better than me, but you know, Saudi Arabia has a lot of humanitarian issues and civil liberty issues that is concerning, and their growing influence in this space, you know, could maybe lead us down a path that maybe we're not too keen on going down.
Yeah. To that end, another thing that I should bring up is this is kind of it's obviously coordinated effort to try and get involved in the world in different areas. So what I mean by that is one of the recent things that Saudi Arabia did was start their own golf tour to rival the PGA. And they've gotten some big names as a part of that tour, and it's been gaining some traction. Now, the same exact criticisms have been leveled against it. You know, it's Saudi Arabia. You're going to go play for Saudi Arabia. And a lot of the people are money-grubbing scumbags, the people who did go over to them. So it is, and this tied with the fact that they also purchased, I believe it was 96%. They now own 96% of SNK, a historical fighting game company, video game company based out of Japan. They've seemingly made a lot of efforts to try and appear more progressive and more involved in the world's affairs, while just kind of sweeping aside all the bad stuff they do to women, to LGBTQ people in their country, and as well as the Yemeni people who are currently undergoing a genocide as a result of Saudi Arabia's actions. Now, I should just mention, we're helping with that by selling them arms and also not doing anything to stop the blockade that has prevented medicine and health resources from getting to the population, which has, as a result, caused starvation and death among many people, especially children. This is the kind of people that Saudi Arabia, this is the kind of stuff that Saudi Arabia has done. And now they're going into video games. And that money, like I said, it's used to help oppress people in their country and outside of their country. So any time that this information comes up, them buying something or getting into some industry like gaming, it's something that should be wary and, in all honesty, should be possibly boycotted. The purchase of any games that they have a lot of stock in, a lot of a stake in, because directly supporting those games, unfortunately, as innocent as it is, and most definitely is innocent, will end up getting back to them, which could be used for some of the bad things that they do. Now, one other final point to make before I let you say your piece. Some criticisms that some people have is, oh well, the U.S. has done bad things, and they get involved. You don't criticize them as much in this way. The key difference being is that the United States government doesn't actually, own video game companies. They're not owning or starting new golf tours. They don't own any of those things. And even though they're definitely profiting some of these scumbags who are in America, they generally aren't, as egregious as directly supporting a government that, commits war crimes and atrocities all the time. It's not exactly the same thing because, once again, just to reiterate, the United States does not, make video games. They aren't involved in getting into that, industry or golf. They aren't trying to do this whole PR stunt where they're trying to say, "Oh, look us, we're a lot more involved in the world, and we're pushing forward golf and video games."
It's a lot like how just because we covered I want to say it was a month or two ago, it must have been 2 months ago, that Japan had outlawed same-sex marriage, but Nintendo themselves found a way around that. Well, Nintendo is a Japanese company, but Japan doesn't own Nintendo. So we as the consumer have no issues in buying the next Legend of Zelda. We actually would rather buy the next Legend of Zelda because companies like Nintendo are fighting for civil rights and civil liberties within their own countries like that. You know, hard pressed to find examples in America that do that. Yeah. Xbox does a couple of cool things, but they also do a couple of not so cool things. But you know, it's a lot of it is apples and oranges, and you know, this specifically, I mean, it's just a government entity that actively targets people for who they are, and now we are, you know, directly putting money in their pockets with every purchase of every video game, every DLC, every microtransaction. Just spending time in that game profits them. So it's much trickier from a consumer perspective and a consumer point of view, and it's even harder because they're buying developers and publishers that are outside of their nation. So you know, you brought up SNK, which we covered on the show. You know, you, Connor, as the fighting game fan, may still want to support SNK because you like the studio and you like the work that they put out, but this puts you in a tricky spot. And I'm just using you as an example here. In that, you know where your money is going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's done in a very weird way, because we're not like it's not like when you boot up the game that they own, it'll say owned and operated by Saudi Arabia. It's not going to do that. As it said in the story, they're getting the Embracer Group. You know, it doesn't even tell us when a game that we play is, you know, funded by the Embracer Group. I guess that's what they mainly do. They fund games. They're investors, I guess. I'm not too up on that kind of stuff.
Embracer's a publisher. They own most.
Yeah. But you know, it's through this way of kind of putting up barriers to prevent you from knowing where the money that you're spending on this game is exactly going. Makes it even harder to, you know, try and buy games and not buy games based off of, you know, things like this, trying not to support a horrible regime. So it really is a very tricky situation that, unfortunately, is probably just going to end up with Saudi Arabia getting a bunch of money. You know, this isn't going to fail. People aren't going to see this and say, oh, I'm not going to buy my game, so I don't support them. They're not going to know. Maybe they're not going to care. Maybe they're not going to think it matters at the end of the day, because they're going to get the money regardless. Who knows what people's conclusions will be, but it just makes it hard to tell where your money's going and who you're actually supporting. And this goes for all things, too, not just this story and not just Saudi Arabia. So really a shitty, demoralizing situation to see, you know, effectively bad guys not only not get any comeuppance or get any kind of retribution, but just kind of keep on winning as they are here.
Especially because in the last few years, like we've really started seeing some progress in this industry, you know, with the blow up we had, what was it, last year, with the Activision Blizzard scandals and so forth, and workforce culture. Like we've been on a, you know, it's been a lot of negativity, but we've been on a positive trend in terms of like change, and this is just really just kind of a setback, and it's unfortunate to see. Hopefully, for the most part, it just remains standoffish, and they just, you know, it's just enhancing their pocketbooks or whatever, which sucks, and we don't like it. But it'd be even worse if we started seeing their politics in games, especially because, you know, we as Westerners and we as Americans see much of what they do as inhumane.
Yeah, and listen, Saudi Arabia isn't a global threat. They're not trying to take over the world. They're not threatening people with nukes. So they're not. The egregious nature of their actions doesn't come from that. I kind of forgot the point that I was going to make. It's.
I feel like it was mostly just that, like, we're directly funding suffering in their own nation, as opposed to like, funding something that will affect us worldwide.
Because, like I said, this is a PR stunt. So they will, as you said, you know, you don't want their values overtaking the games that they you know, help fund, and that's probably not going to happen because they don't want to lose out on money, because they know the rest of the world isn't like them. So if they were to say, hey, you can't have gay people in the games, people are going to get really angry about it, and that is the kind of stuff that could spur you to not buy their game. So they'll just keep quiet. They'll know they'll be raking in money anyway, and they'll just, you know, silently support them from behind and try not to make too much of a tizzy about things to let people know that that's where their money's going.
Rough
Yeah.
times. Moving on, Connor. Let's go ahead and jump in. Honestly, just kind of a bummer of a week here in general. So we're moving on to Google Stadia is finally shutting down. We're pulling an article from The Verge by Jay Peters. Google is shutting down Stadia, its cloud gaming service. The service will remain live for players until January 18th, 2023. Google will be refunding all Stadia hardware purchased through the Google Store, as well as the games and add-on content purchased from the Stadia Store. Google expects those refunds will be completed in mid-January. Quote, a few years ago, we also launched a consumer gaming service, Stadia. Stadia Vice President and GM Phil Harrison said in a blog post, quote, and while Stadia's approach to streaming games for consumers was built on a strong technology foundation, it hasn't gained the traction with users that we expected, so we've made the difficult decision to begin winding down our Stadia streaming service. Employees on the Stadia team will be distributed to other parts of the company. Harrison says Google sees opportunities to apply Stadia's technology to other parts of Google, like YouTube, Google Play, and its AR efforts. And the company also plans to, quote, make it available to our industry partners, which aligns with where we see the future of gaming headed, he wrote. Google detailed some of the finer points of the shutdown in an FAQ. Refunds will automatically be made through the Google and Stadia stores, and you won't have to return any hardware. Stadia Pro subscriptions will not be eligible for a refund, but you will not be charged during the shutdown period and can gain access you might have redeemed as a Pro user until everything is wound down. Google has closed the Stadia store, so you can't buy games or in-game transactions. The writing has been on the wall for Stadia for a while now. And this is all just stuff that we've been talking about for forever. Connor, this is really unfortunate because Google Stadia, I think, was a good idea. It just wasn't executed on properly at all. And it was confusing, and it just wasn't, the marketing wasn't clear, but, you know, streaming is the future of everything. And, you know, for games specifically, like, it's just a matter of getting internet connections down to that one-to-one thing. Google Fiber, for example, is saying that they're getting 10 up and 10 down in lower speed states such as Kansas, like 10 gigabytes at 10 gigabytes down. That's incredible, you know? That's more than I was getting on my AT&T internet 6 months ago. You know what I'm saying? So the technology is quickly getting there. It's not a matter of the tech didn't work. I mean, the tech struggled because, you know, just the infrastructure wasn't there, but the infrastructure is well on its way. I'm of the firm belief that Google Stadia's mistake was that it didn't have any real first-party output of any consequence. Like, name me one Stadia exclusive game that was a must-play game. In fact, I'll go even lesser. Name me one Stadia exclusive game that you can even say was exclusive on Stadia.
I couldn't.
You just can't.
Name me two.
You just can't. I can name, you know, there's always the joke that Xbox doesn't have games, but I can name games that were exclusive to Xbox that, you know, weren't must-play games, but I can name them. Shout out Recore. Shout out Rise, you know? But here we are, fucking 4 or 5 years later, and Google Stadia has nothing. Like, okay, cool. Some Assassin's Creed games were on there, and they seemed to work, you know, as well as any other streaming service worked. Neat. And then I saw Ubisoft is trying to, you know, give people PC copies of, like, of their games that were on Stadia, and transfer saves over and so forth. So good on Ubisoft for doing that. And honestly, I'll say good on Google for, you know, doing right by its consumers and giving, you know, refunds and stuff back. I'm sure not everything can be refunded back, such as microtransactions in games that they don't own. But then again, what games are there? You know? So they're doing all the right things in terms of, like, hey, we have to shut this down because it's just not making us money. So they're giving the money back and so forth, and letting people in and not charging them for Stadia Pro while the service is being shut down from here until mid-January. So all of that's, you know, good. Fucking Phil Harrison, man. He's the fucking kiss of death in this goddamn industry, bro. What the fuck? This is like project number 7 that was a failure for him. He was directly involved in the PS3 launch, which was a disaster. The Xbox One launch, which is a disaster. And then, like, you can just go do your Googles, man. This man, everywhere this man goes, the project fails. So it's amazing that this dude can still get a job anywhere. But yeah, and
Stadia.
also Stadia being a subscription service, but you still had to buy the video games. So then like we're paying for a box, which over time would cost us more money anyway. It was complicated and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. It was a mess.
Stadians are very sad right now.
Yeah,
Stadia subreddit. It's going crazy.
All 8 of them are very sad. Just unfortunate.
Yeah, but it was inevitable.
It was inevitable. Like this writing was on the wall for years at this point.
Almost
like
when it was the moment it was released, it was honestly just already getting the coffin nailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also unfortunate because literally the day after they made this announcement, games came out on Stadia. Like there are still games releasing, and there are dev studios who are still porting their games to Stadia as we speak. And now they're sitting here like, well, I guess we're not doing this anymore. Like,
that would make me angry. If I had to do extra work for this, and then find out that Stadia is being shut down, I'd be pissed. Because I'd just like, what am I even here for? What am I doing? I'm wasting my day. I could be home doing anything else other than something that doesn't matter. Yeah, I'd be angry.
There are entire porting studios. Like there are studios you hire that just port games, and this, like, to my understanding, this is where you cut your teeth in the industry. Is you just, all right, I'm just gonna port this game to Xbox. I'm gonna port this game to PlayStation. I'm gonna port this game to Stadia, and do that to have something on my resume. And all of these devs like are just kind of left with their dick in their hands, and they're like, well, what the fuck? What do we do now?
Nothing. At all.
You figure something else out. Which is unfortunate and sucks. But yeah, Google Stadia, rest in peace. Short-lived and not very effective while you were here. So, but
very sad.
Maybe one day when Xbox is ready to unleash its load on all of us and cover it in its green goo.
I thought we were past the point of green goo. Remember that was a weird thing. Like,
that's still a thing. Nickelodeon still fucking slimes motherfuckers.
But it started back at when did it start? Like 2000s?
I want to say it was early 2000s or 90s. It's a 90s thing for sure. It's a 90s thing.
So weird. I blame Ghostbusters.
Good movie.
I've never seen Ghostbusters.
You've never seen Ghostbusters?
No, and I don't think I will.
Oh,
I'm tired of people talking about it, so I don't think I'll watch it out of spite.
You're a child. You are a child. Connor, let's wrap this up before we jump into our Portal review. Final story of the day, my final penny. PlayStation Star's loyalty program currently offers better customer service as a reward. This is an IGN article by Ryan Densdale. Sony's PlayStation Star's loyalty program is offering better customer support to those at a higher reward tier. As reported by VGC, those using the service after its launch in Japan today, September 29th, have complained that those on the service's 4th tier get improved customer support. Users can move up tiers by buying games from the PlayStation Store and earning trophies, effectively meaning that those with more money will receive better support from Sony. Quote, when contacting PlayStation customer support, you will be given priority in the chat order, the reward list reads, and getting there requires users to first buy 4 games from the PlayStation Store and earn 128 rare trophies. Those who've done so will therefore be able to speak with PlayStation's customer support ahead of those who've spent less money, something that has some users upset. It's not guaranteed that this PlayStation Star's reward will arrive with the North American, European, and other versions of the service, but Sony hasn't indicated anything will be different between regions. The reward program will also give players the likes of PlayStation Store wallet funds and select PlayStation Store products alongside a series of virtual collectibles that are definitely not NFTs. Okay. What? Why?
Yeah.
Weird?
Customer support is, I thought it was a done deal. It was, if you have an issue, you call them, or contact them somehow, and then you get it. And there's no, it's just like, to pay for, easier access to that is stupid.
Just imagine, let's say you're calling customer support on a high volume day. Now, personally, I've called PlayStation customer support a number of times. I've never had to wait that long. I've never had an issue. Customer support on PlayStation is usually pretty good. I've had nothing but good experiences. I'm not saying bad experiences don't exist, rather. But the 3 or 4 times I've had to use PlayStation support, it's gone swimmingly. I've never even had to wait in a queue really that long at all, if ever. I can't remember because obviously it didn't really affect my experience that much. But like, just to imagine, it's like, let's say maybe I do call on a high volume day and I have to wait 15 minutes, but that 15 minutes turns into 45 minutes because someone else, bought more games than me. What?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Why?
You're just worse. You're just worse, and you deserve less.
And it's
Too
such a
bad.
strange, like, this is really a thing you wanted to bullet point on your Stars loyalty program. Like, this is a thing you thought was a good idea. Why? Why did you choose to? You could have just not done this. And yet here we are doing it. And I don't know, man. This is a weird thing. And PlayStation Stars quickly, they're just not advertising this well at all. And I think it's because maybe they don't really know what it is. They have a couple of ideas of what they want to implement with it, but like overall, like there's no clear objective here. So they're just kind of throwing everything they can at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I think overall this will lead to them, probably not sunsetting because they're putting so much marketing behind it anyway, but this will probably lead to them putting it on the back burner and having it in the background, much like PlayStation Now spent some years in the background, as opposed to, front and center, like their PlayStation Plus subscriptions and so forth. And, Sony does this with a lot of different things that I can't even fucking name. There was that one service they shut down a few months ago. Did we cover it on the show? I don't know if we did or not. I don't think we did. But, like, fuck, what the fuck was it called? PlayStation shuts down. That's not how you spell down. Anyways, but yeah,
bad.
I mean, PlayStation stores for legacy consoles? No. Yeah, things like PlayStation Home from the PS3 era got shut down, but there was something that got shut down like 2 months ago, and I've already forgotten the name of it. And that should tell you a lot about how important that service was.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm usually pretty ingrained in PlayStation know-how. But yeah, this is weird. This is weird. And yeah, tying it to how many games you buy and how many trophies you have, gives you better customer service. Now, granted, better, maybe not, but like faster. You're getting serviced quicker. You're skipping the line, which is annoying and unnecessary. Like, why? Who in the boardroom thought this would be a good idea? And why did this even come up as an idea? Who thought about this? Who said, you know what we should do? No one's ever thought that this was a thing. You know what would be nice, PlayStation, is if I don't personally do it, but I know there's a lot of fan outcry for it. Folders. Let us put our games in folders on the home screen. You can currently put it in your game library that you have to tab all the way over to, but like, let us just do it right there. Like, listen to us. Do the things we're asking for. We don't want these weird digital collectibles that we can't even, as far as I can tell, can't even show off to our friends in any way. Like, we have to dig in deep to the PlayStation menus to even have. Like, you and I live in different cities, Connor. I can't just show you the different digital collectibles I have, as far as I know. The PlayStation Store wallet funds, sure, I'll take advantage of that. Personally, I'll use that because I like shit like that. Doing the little, like, oh, go earn this trophy in this game, the little campaigns or whatever the fuck they call them. Okay, cool, those are neat, but like, what is the purpose of this service?
Yeah, it sounded so good from when we first heard about it. That's an interesting...
It was fascinating. It sounded like, oh, this gives us a reason to continue playing games on PlayStation. Like, this is a little bonus. This is a little like sprinkle of things in it. And now we're sitting here like, wait, what are you doing with this? Like, it's not inherently bad. It's just weird.
They really dropped the ball on this.
Yeah, the customer service thing is annoying. I'm not gonna straight out call it bad, but it's annoying. It's certainly like you didn't need to do that. That's not something we should do. And yeah, definitely just like a thorn in the side in terms of like PlayStation and their services to the gamers. And it's things like this, it's examples like this that show you that, like, man, really, Xbox is really killing the game right now. They're really killing the game now. I had a friend, she's an infant gamer, I'll say. Like, she's played a few games. She played Last of Us. She played Control. Those are the two games she's played on her, like, boyfriend at the time's PlayStation or whatever. And she hit me this week and she said, hey, I'm about to move out and get a place of my own. I want to get into games. What should I go? And I said, honestly, dude, she's like, I've played these games, but like, I don't really know what I'm looking for. And I said, honestly, dude, at this rate, just buy an Xbox. Buy an Xbox, get Game Pass. Like, in terms of value, you're getting the best deal there. You don't know your personal taste yet. So you're just gonna kind of be shooting blind and shooting in the dark. So yeah, just get the Netflix for video games thing, and then just download and play whatever looks interesting to you, and figure out what you like and don't like from there. But as of right now, like, there's no reason for you to jump onto PlayStation other than like the cream of the crop games are there. Sure, you won't be able to play God of War Ragnarok. Sure, you won't be able to play Spider-Man 2. Sure, you won't be able to play Wolverine. But there's still plenty of games over there on the Xbox Game Pass that are a fucking blast to play, and absolutely you should play. And yeah, man, I just don't know. And she was like, yeah, I think you're right. I think I was leaning PlayStation, but the way you pitched Game Pass, that sounds more my speed. And I was like, honestly, it is. Because, and we talked about this near the end of the year last year, where we had an episode of like how to get started in gaming, and that was before the Activision Blizzard acquisition. I want to say, was that before the Bethesda acquisition? I can't remember. Might have been around that time. It was around that time for sure. So now we're sitting back and we're going, hey, Game Pass has games. Like, it's not the best, like 10 out of 10s, but it's anywhere from a 6 all the way up to a 9 in some cases. So like, and when you get that for $10 a month, as opposed to paying $70 for one game every month, there's no debate there. And this is this isn't like a definitive like nail in the coffin or anything, but this is just like a little thing to be like, yeah, man, Xbox does this better. Like, Xbox has programs like this and they do it better. The one thing Xbox doesn't do better is their Games with Gold program. But when you have Game Pass, who gives a fuck about Games with Gold? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, real quick, I'm sorry, I just looked it up, and March 9th was when the announcement officially came from the Bethesda being acquired in 2021.
Okay, yeah. So we must have done that episode. Let me look it up. It's gonna take me a second. But yeah, Connor, how are you feeling, man? Where are you at with any of this?
I mean, just to finish up your topic about how to get into games easier, you are right. The Xbox Games Pass and Xbox really is the best way. But despite that being the case and Stars not being what it's chalked up to be, I kind of want to say it's bad. Just because, I know you said it was annoying, but I think it might be bad just because it sets a precedent of, we're going to constantly have this thing where you pay higher tiers for things, and then that's how you get the better customer service or other stupid feature that should be, the same across the board now is, prioritized depending on which tier you get. Because if they're doing it for this, they can do it for other things as well. And even if this is just annoying, it could get worse. So
Agreed.
It's so easy I wouldn't say this is an easy program to do because I couldn't even really tell you what it is, what exactly I'm getting from it, but, definitely the wrong choice here. Very obviously.
Yeah. Here it is. How to get into gaming in 2022. Two Penny Gamescast, episode 75, December 27th, 2021. So yeah, this was before the Activision Blizzard. Yeah, it was like right before the Activision Blizzard. But now, it's now the. It was a good thumbnail too. Good work, Tavin.
You had to do that, didn't you?
Anyways, yeah. This is annoying. I don't like it.
Not many do.
Who knows, man? Where this will go? I could see it like just fading into the background. I mean, it's just not big enough of a deal. Like, okay, you get to jump the line in customer service. Who's calling? Are their customer service lines really getting flooded with calls that much? I've never heard anything of it. I mean, it's possible in pandemic times, but doubtful to the point to where you would need to implement this system. This is weird. Who's calling the service this much? That's my thing. Weird. If I was calling PlayStation customer service once a month, then I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense. But I've called them 3 times in the 15 years that I've been playing PlayStation games with the inclusion of like the PlayStation Network. Like, I've been playing PlayStation games all my life, but like in terms of needing to call them, I've only been doing it for like, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years, something like that. This is weird. It's weird, man, and it leaves a bad taste in the mouth for sure. Mm-hmm. Connor, that is it for the news this week, my friend. But, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Stick around, because we are about to bring Phil in here and review ourselves some Portal for our video game book club, the Two Penny Game Club. So stick around for that, but I'm going to go ahead and close out the show right here. This is your episode 115 of the Two Penny Gamescast. I give a little outro at the end of the review, so I'm going to let past Tavin / future Tavin do that for you. But until next time, have a great time. Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Bye. Time is fluid.
What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a Two Penny Game Club, your video game book club that comes out every month. The first episode of the month for the Two Penny Gamescast, our full podcast over at youtube.com/2pennygamescast or mainstream podcast services of your choice. That comes out every Monday, 8 a.m. Me and my good buddy Connor. Say hello to the people, Connor.
Hello. How you doing?
Sit down to you, and we give you the new news you need to know. This is attached to it, but we also do a little breakout video for it in which me, Connor, and my good buddy Phil, say hello, Phil.
I'm here now.
He's here now. We sit down and we review a game of yonder, a game of the past.
Of yore.
And, we just give like a little modern review, little update review, and we like to rank them against each other for shits and giggles. So, for example, we've done The Last of Us, we've done Chrono Trigger, we've done Resident Evil 4. That's all we've done up to this point. And now we're on Portal. Mm-hmm. This time we got Phil joining us. The last three, Phil hadn't joined us. Now,
no.
Ladies and gentlemen, you might be like, well, is Phil up to date? Has he played all the other games like we have? No, he hasn't.
I don't play bad games, so.
Hey.
Wow.
You don't like Chrono Trigger?
All right. All of them are baby games. They're
definitely
all just baby
none
games.
of the games we've played bad at all. Anyways, Phil has played most of Resident Evil 4, at least more than half.
Yeah, over
point.
half.
And he's working his way in the background through The Last of Us Part 1. I don't expect he'll ever play Chrono Trigger.
I'm playing through Last of Us Part 1, like the remake PS5 one with Ash, so
it'll retain its number 2 spot forever.
Tomato. It's number 1, Connor. It's number 1.
Chrono Trigger's number
Chrono
1. Trigger will remain.
Chrono Trigger's number 2. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Chrono Trigger's number 1?
No, absolutely
with
not.
Tavin, the Last of Us fanboy in here?
No. Be frothing and raving.
Listen, both me and Connor agreed it wasn't as good as The Last of Us. It wasn't a fair fight because The Last of Us came out 20-something years later, but it is what it is, you know? It is
Tavin
what it
would
is.
be foaming at the mouth if Last of Us wasn't number 1.
Anyways, gentlemen, let's get right into it. Portal. We all played it on PC. We all got it through Steam, about $10. And I'll go ahead and go first. What a lovely time this Portal game is.
It's very
if
fun.
you don't know, first-person puzzle platformer game in which you're eventually given a gun that shoots 2 different portals, and then you use that to solve different puzzles and stuff, and it's got some physics-based stuff going on. One of the first games ever to have like physics-based puzzles going on in it. I think it's just an absolute ball of a time. It controls pretty damn well, still holds up pretty damn well. I think the level design is pretty ingenious. From stem to stern, it works from like literally like level 0, where it's like, hey, this is how you move and this is how like basic controls and functions work, and then how it teaches the player level by level, step by step, and it starts adding levels of complexity with every level, and the way that it goes off the rails, near the later half and stuff, I think really, really holds up, and I think it stands toe to toe with some of the best games ever made. In fact, in terms of just game design and dialogue, because it's also a very well-written game, I think it stands toe-to-toe with The Last of Us. The only thing that is like a meh for me is that it's 2 hours long, give or take, probably at most. There's always the argument of, well, would you rather have a 10 out of 10 game but it can only be a couple hours long, or would you rather have like a 6 out of 10 but it's 30 hours long? I would rather be somewhere in the middle. I'd rather take an 8 out of 10, 10-hour experience somewhere in there because, even though you're short and impactful and, every moment is phenomenal, you're just not taking up enough bandwidth in my brain in order to like justify putting you up in those upper echelons. So like, even though it's arguably a perfect game, it's just too short for me to like love it.
Yeah.
Phil, I think how did you feel?
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think it took all of us like 2 hours or less. Or like
I was sitting somewhere in the hour 45, 2 hour mark, somewhere around there.
Yeah, because I streamed it a couple weeks ago, without audio apparently. But yeah. Anyway, it was fun. I mean, I think like you were saying, like it takes just enough time to teach the player how to implement all the systems before adding levels of complexity to each one to keep everything somewhat fresh. I was not. I feel like they waited just the right amount of time to give you the full portal gun.
Yeah.
Like they didn't keep you waiting too long, because you start with only being able to use one of the portals. I think like the first level you pick up the portal gun and it's got like just the blue one.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I want to say there's a round or two where you don't even do that. You just let the portal gun do its own thing.
Right.
Or well, you're just solving button puzzles or whatever.
Right. And then I think 3 or 4 you pick up the portal gun and it's just got the blue one, so you're in control of the blue one. You're waiting on them to pop up the orange one, and then I think somewhere around like 8 or 9 8, 9 or 10 they give you the orange side, so you're at full control over your puzzle making ability. And of course you have to do the classic portal thing, which is you put a portal below you and you put a portal above you and just fucking go through over and over and over and over, and then to see how fast you can go. And then if you're even more skilled, or I guess just lucky, you land something on the other side, on a wall as you're going through, so you just fucking slam up against a wall really fucking fast using all that momentum, because the conservation of motion in this game, like as far as like momentum goes, is insane. Like I feel like it ramps it up just to make it more satisfying, because there are some bits that require you to use momentum and like throw a portal on the ground, jump into it as you have one on the wall. And there's some bits where like it just you can feel that it thrusts you forward. Like it feels like it thrusts you forward more than it should. Which is fine, because I don't want it to be totally realistic.
When the gravity change happens from when you enter one portal and exit the other, there's something there where it kind of throws you somehow.
Have you done the thing where like you place 2 portals in the ground, so you just keep going whoop 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 whoop, like back and forth, like where you'll
I did that when I was younger and played this game, because I've played this game once before when I was like 14. So it's been about a decade since I've touched Portal 1. And yeah, it was
just flopping like a fish.
Yeah, it was just flopping like a fish. And then I accidentally did it in this playthrough.
Yeah, I think the first time I played it was right after I graduated high school. So like late 2016, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just later to it, because it was primarily a PC game, and I never had the orange box growing up, so I never really got to experience it until much later.
I was so close to just messaging y'all and being like, y'all, the orange box is only $20. I'm gonna go ahead and buy that. But we'll just leave that for the future.
Connor, it gives you Portal, Team Fortress 2, and what else?
Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2 and Portal 2 as well.
Amazing combination.
Great, yeah, super great. Connor, how did you feel about Portal?
I agreed with you guys. It's pretty much a perfect game. I can't find any faults with it anywhere. To me, it has become, well, it already has kind of been, at least in my eyes, the definitive puzzle game. People always, it's always in the conversation when you bring up puzzle games. And now that I've played it for the first time, I'd say it's probably my favorite puzzle game. I don't play a lot of puzzle games.
Short list.
I don't. It is a short list. I'm not even the biggest fan of them, because generally I want to go through other, styles of games. Like ones that have action story. What?
Like Deus Ex.
Yes, like Deus Ex, Game of the Year Edition, 2000. That game's amazing. Exactly, it's amazing. Those so it doesn't have a super complex level of depth to compared to it's complex. It has a level of depth to it. Like you said, the physics mechanic, great. first one to do it, which I couldn't have known that. But it is a pretty bare bones game, all things considered. It doesn't have really a much of a plot, though there is one. It doesn't really have a lot of diversity in gameplay. It doesn't need to, but
but what's there is really well written and really well designed.
Yes, like I said, everything that is there in the game that is present is perfect. It's
just
very faultless.
The snark that's there is just off the charts.
Yeah,
I love it.
Laughed multiple times when because I never played Portal, so I didn't know what Gladys was going to say next, and her personality was, very deserving of being highly regarded as a video game character because she was just so fun.
Me and Tavin were talking last night. She didn't have a name yet.
Yeah, I guess
they don't even call her Gladys in this one. Yeah, that's a game or the thing that they do in the second one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we cut you off. Anything else?
No, it's like I was saying, it's perfect game, but it's not really. It doesn't have as much aspects to criticize as, let's say Last of Us or Chrono Trigger. It's not even very. It's very even minimalistic on the music, which isn't very present in the game. But when it is, once again, it's good. It's really, really good.
Credit song, man.
Oh, the credit song is hilarious. It's so funny.
It is.
I'm not even angry.
It's like whatever they decided to do, they did it good. And I'm really excited to inevitably play Portal 2 because by all accounts, it's a better game. And I think I'll even be hotter on that.
They take everything in this game and just ramp it up.
Oh, yeah. And to be fair, like, this game was such a test bed for so many different things. I believe it was, like, one of the first games on Steam, so it was, like, kind of launching the Steam platform.
Yeah, I think that's actually true.
And then, along with, like, Half-Life 2, I believe. And then... it was a smaller team, such a small budget to do it. So they did everything they possibly could for what they were trying to do here. And then it was more about the technical abilities of it all than it was the building a full game like they do eventually do with Portal 2. Because I remember the marketing for Portal 2 being off the fucking chain. Yeah. And yeah, when we do eventually get to the sequel, I'm very, very excited to explore that because that is going to be a much more girthy experience in comparison to this one.
On that note, so you played Portal 2, Phil, right?
Yes.
And you did too, Tavin?
I believe I played the first quarter or half of it, but I've watched a playthrough, so I vaguely remember what happens.
Okay.
Tavin, watching a playthrough is not the same as playing a game.
It's not. That's why I distinguish the difference there, Philip.
So pathetic Tavin is to watch a game. Who watches game?
What a hypocrite! What a hypocrite this man.
The only game that I've watched is Brutal Legend for some reason.
Why did you played that
because
game?
I literally didn't think I would ever play it, so I was okay.
While he played it.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been really weird. I don't know if I could have done that. Which I ended up just watching it, and then I think I can get this game, and I did.
I watched a streamer, the girlfriend's review, the girlfriend reviews crew. I watched them play The Last of Us Part 2 as I was playing The Last of Us Part 2. I was 4 or 5 hours ahead of them, and then was just watching them go along.
You couldn't get enough.
That was fun because I'd cry, and then 5 hours later they'd cry, and I'd be like, yeah, I remember when I was crying. Anyways, gentlemen. I mean, what else is there to say about Portal?
Yeah.
It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. I wish it was longer, and clearly Portal 2 is something that solves that issue. So unless you boys have something else to say, I'm ready to rank this thing and get a move on.
Yeah,
Bank it.
It's a minimalistic game, and we don't really need to spend a lot of time talking about it.
Yeah,
rank it and bank it, baby.
So right now on the screen, the audience is going to see a nice little graphic of where the standings are right now. We don't see it because it hasn't been made yet because I thought I was going to have more time this morning before we started recording.
Whoa, it's right. Oh, you can't see me point which direction I'm pointing because it's below the camera. It's right there, though.
It's taking up the whole screen. So anyways,
and I was right.
Number one,
pointing.
You can't.
Number 1, we have The Last of Us. Number 2, Chrono Trigger. And number 3, Resident Evil 4. Connor, I'm going to go ahead and start with you, man. Start this bidding off, man. How are you feeling about this game? Where were you thinking about putting it?
No, like I said, it's a perfect game. I can't really find much fault with it. But in my eyes, it is a puzzle game, which despite as good of a puzzle game it is, I'm not going to be as hot on it as other games. It's It's short, which, well, the shortness really doesn't matter in my ranking of this game, but the minimalistic aspects of the game does. So ultimately, I think I would have to personally place it at number 4, because the other games have a lot more going on. They have a lot more of a story. They have characters that are more defined. Generally, and this isn't a rag on the game. Like I said, this is really just because of how little content is in the game overall, which is the ranking it is getting, which is why it's getting that ranking. But it's a great game. I expect it to be maybe higher than others, but as of right now, I think with what the game has, it needs to be number 4.
As we get deeper, I'm in a similar vein as you. I like puzzle games more than you. But the length of the game does bother me personally. Even though it's pretty cheap nowadays, it's $10. You can get it in the orange box for even cheap when you divvy up how many games are in that and the cost of that. But it didn't stay long enough to leave enough of an impression. But what is there is so good. Like, there is no fat on this game at all. And though, like, I started this off with, like, man, I'd rather like a 8 out of 10 10-hour experience, and Resident Evil 4 is kind of that for me, where it's a high 7, low 8, 14-hour experience. I just think I think the fat on Resident Evil 4 shows so much that I would knock it below this, but I just can't. Even though I think it's probably objectively the best designed game on the list, it's just not. There's just not enough content here to justify putting it over Chrono Trigger or The Last of Us. So for me, I'm going number 3 above Resident Evil 4, but below Chrono Trigger, which puts us at a standstill. And last month, we would have just flipped a coin and let the results be where they are. But Phil, I would say you've played enough Resident Evil 4 at this point that I'm willing to allow you to be the tiebreaker here. First off, I guess you don't know because you haven't played the 2 out of the 3 games that are already on the list. So how are you feeling, man? Where does this game lie for you?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad that my first inaugural episode of Two Penny Game Club allows me to perform my reason for joining, and that's for being the tiebreaker. Yes.
Your honorable position.
Honorable, yes. Point.
Valid, very valid.
Yes, and with all of this being said, I do have to agree. I'm not going to say with who yet, but this game is very short. But with that being said, it's short and sweet. I feel like it's so influential as far as like physics go in games.
Yeah.
It being like. I think revolutionary in just the sheer like scale of like stuff that it provides you, as far as physics go. Like you like I said, you got the portals, you fucking get so much momentum going. Fucking you think, oh man, this thing's going this way, I can change this direction by throwing a portal there. There
Great
you go.
aha moments.
Exactly. Yeah. It provides so much. Like in the brain, it releases that dopamine. Fucking shoot me up, like shoot me up with that dopamine. And with all that being said, I agree that it's better than Resident Evil 4. So I'm gonna put it there at number 3.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is your ranking as it stands right now. Number 4, Resident Evil 4. Number 3. Portal, number 2, Chrono Trigger, and number 1, The Last of Us. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't recall, every month we sit down and we review a new game from Games of Yore. And this next month, what month are we in? This is October. So November. November. I gotta look at my calendar. Hold on.
Shocktober.
So that was your Two Penny Game Club for October. November 7th, we will be back with a new episode of the Two Penny Game Club. We've already scheduled that one out to be Dishonored. You can get it fucking goddamn near everywhere. Xbox, PlayStation, via backwards compatibility, and then also PC. It's on there. I don't believe it's on any Nintendo platforms, but it's out there. You can find it pretty easily. So I'm very excited to join that. November 7th, everyone, be ready for some Dishonored talk. But until then, everyone have a great, great time. And then this also wraps up the Two Penny Gamescast. So if you're listening from that, thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember, that goes up every Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/2pennygamescast, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. But until next time, have a great time. And gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
Hey, see ya.